going to try to cover the first two this week, and then we'll cover the next two in our next session.
Okay.
So let's talk about. Have you heard of POPS? POPS, the group here. It's Protect.
I have heard of POPS.
Okay.
Yes.
We work with them, and they have some excellent ideas and things they're trying to do. And the charter schools may have a place here, but like a lot of people, I know a lot of people have been saying during the debates and stuff, the charter schools need to follow the same regulations and same accountability as the public schools do. And
exactly.
We've got to get people to understand the importance of this.
Yes.
There has been several situations here where our public tax dollars have been taken to charter schools, and then they've been allowed to discriminate against people. And
exactly. And that's not right. Exactly.
It is.
Go ahead.
And you understand where I'm coming from on this, exactly, I believe, too.
Right, exactly. Yes.
So can you address this a little bit and tell us what some of your thoughts are, how we can make this more equitable, and how we can try to hold them accountable and make the situation balance the playing field. And here's another thing. I loved when they had the debates, and one of the people pointing out, they select and pick into a specific charter school all the best and brightest, and then they claim that they've done miracles when only they have done they have only selected a few people. Well, anyone could do that. No, that's not really an accomplishment. So.
Exactly. And that's been well documented with people who have, I first became aware of it a few years ago when I was looking at some charter schools up in the New York area. And once people really look into it, you can really see that that's a process that's happening that's well documented, with charter schools being very selective with who they allow in, to get the numbers or the outcomes that they then purport that they have. And,
exactly.
And with the public school system, obviously public schools don't have that as a luxury. Education is a right, and it should be proposed and presented as a right for everyone to have a strong quality education, or at least access to it. But public schools have to take, they just don't have that kind of selectability. The discrimination part that's going on as it relates to taxpayers' dollars, you mentioned that earlier. I am strongly against that. I'm against discrimination on any form, but what's going on, this is another reason. And I believe currently in 70, and I do understand the incumbent is not seeking reelection. And so, that is good. But even if he were, I was prepared to, go against him last time and didn't know who my opponents would be this time. But being from 70 and knowing how strongly or how important public education is, the belief is that I am looking forward to actually giving us that kind of voice in Tallahassee, is that we have to support public schools with our resources, our taxpayer dollars. This is a part. Now, charter schools can, a lot of them are corporately funded anyway. They're businesses, as long as, and so they shouldn't get public taxpayers' dollars to help private businesses. I mean, there is no difference between that and what privatized prisons are doing, and different things like banks and different, there's a whole lot of private businesses, and they have a system for private companies to do whatever that they do, because they disguise themselves in education. Shouldn't then give them some kind of a loophole to exercise taxpayers' dollars. I am a very strong proponent that taxpayers' dollars, as far as education goes, it needs to go into the public school system. We're already at deficits across the board, and we don't have to be. If the money is used the way that it should be used, then we should have very quality schools across the state. And right now we have a huge deficit in that. And it's unfair because, as you mentioned earlier, the accountability is not the same. I was recently in a post office, and because people know that I'm a very strong supporter of public schools, I found myself in a conversation with a parent who put her child in a charter school, And her child just did not do well at all. The school ended up closing, and right now I believe she's still trying to get records. And she was asking me how could she go about, trying to get access to her daughter's records. And I was then explaining to her, about the no accountability and, the different things like that. And she explained to me that she really regrets, that choice. But I found it very interesting that she said that there are a lot of other parents that she knows who feel the exact same way that she does, except they don't find that it's hard to find leadership that will help them have a voice. So what I want to do is help them have a voice, because that is, that's a position that I think needs to come to the forefront. These are parents who trusted the system that put their child in those schools. And for some people, they may have had public experiences, but we cannot overshadow the parents and the students or their children who are having, bad situations in these environments. This is something that the state will have to, again, answer to as the generations get older. But this is a problem that we can solve right now. We can solve it by putting the resources in public schools and funding it so that all of our schools can be equitable.
Exactly. I want to touch off on another subject here you mentioned here, and it is something I want to make you aware. I'm sure you may already be aware of this, but I want to make you aware of it if you're not already. And you touched on, like you said, privatize in the prison systems, and that's that we in Florida here need to try to stop at every level possible.
Yes.
If you've seen some of the national studies done on where this has been done across the country, it is absolutely frightening. Some of what they've done. They have deliberately reincarcerated people and allowed people who should have been allowed out. It shows the stats, and what went on in undercover. And that's what we need to educate people on, and that privatizing prisons is not a way forward for us.
It's another business. It's another business. It's cheap and free labor. It's something, and like you said, I think, and that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to bringing to District 70 and points beyond 70, but particular in 70 is an education piece. One of the things that I'm very serious about doing is holding, town hall meetings and just being available to help educate people. I don't know how many people, your listeners, that may be familiar with State House Representative Jennifer Webb. She's the representative out of 69. She was elected for the first time last 2018. And when she came back home, because she's one of the Pinellas County legislative delegation as well, I made it a point to go to her town hall meeting. I was just, because it was an idea that, I had even in 2018, and I wanted to see her format. How would she do it? And I was impressed by the fact it was standing room only. And in my head, I want 70 to have that type of political participation where people know, like, you're there, you're available, and they want to know what's going on. We have to do something about electing really just people who are committed to helping the constituency be educated. So I'm happy that, because I find that with the education, I think that we can mobilize, quicker and stronger if people can understand what they're doing and why they're doing it and why this is important to do.
Excellent. Now, listen, Keisha, we have about 1 minute to wrap up here in this segment, and then we'll be welcoming you back on the next segment. So I want you to summarize on your points 1 and 2 for the health care and on education, and some of your key points before we wrap up, okay?
Awesome. Again, my name is Keisha Bell, and I am running for State House District 70. 2 of the 4 highlighted points that I'm looking forward to fighting for in Tallahassee is affordable health care, particularly expanding and including Medicaid. And then, of course, advocating for quality education. Every child, I believe, every student deserves to have a fully funded public school to attend or to have access to resources in that school. If anyone's interested in contacting me, getting to know more about my campaign, please feel free to do so. Look me up at www.votekeisha, KEISHA, Bell, BELL.com.
Great. Keisha, thank you so much, and it's been great listening to you today and having you on with us on our program. And thank you for listening, and we hope you have enjoyed today's discussion. This has been CPRNF on Society Bites Radio, and have been your host, Steve Ryan.